Hi, and welcome to the Intentional Wealth Update for the week of October 18th, 2021. I'm Dennis Morton here with Cody Demmel. Cody, how are you doing this morning?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. So, all right, this week kicked off with my wedding anniversary. It was on Monday. And one of the phrases that my wife has been using, for the duration of our marriage is keeping you in the black since 2003. She sees it as her job to be the master of what goes out of the household. And to the extent I kind of take care of what comes in and everything else. We're talking about spending today a little bit. We found a couple of articles that had a unique take on how lifestyle creep can emerge, how just our expenses tend to expand as we kind of grow in our earnings potential throughout our careers, and then also just how the forces are kind of aligned against us with subscription services and everybody trying to make things easy. So let's start with that lifestyle creep, Cody. We found an article by Peter Lazaroff called How to Deal with Lifestyle Creep. And he talks about just there's certain things that we do as we expand in our careers, services that we add, and a different way that we think about expenses that just gradually grows. Cody, what did you take away from that article?
Yeah, I thought it was a great article. He went over just how it happens, and then he explains, obviously, the increase in income that you hopefully have in your early 20s, 30s, and 40s. And as that income increases, if you don't have the automated savings in place, that you're most likely going to spend more on going to a sporting event, maybe get better tickets, more expensive food, going out more, better wine. So it's not exactly adding more things, but maybe just doing things that are a little more expensive that you were already doing.
It's qualitative stuff, right? But the way my wife puts it is it's going to the grocery store and kind of buying what you want versus kind of being saying these are the necessities. And then there's a different, we've had those ebbs and flows in our financial life cycle too. But then there's also the development of subscription services. And this, even the grocery store, you can subscribe to have your groceries delivered or a Blue Apron or something like that. Everything is a subscription. We found a Wall Street Journal article entitled, "Digital payments are convenient. They can also wreak havoc on your finances." This was interesting because it talks about the complacency that sets in a subscription-based model. It caught one guy off guard, didn't it, Cody? Like life happened and he's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, the one example they went over is the individual subscribed for, I think it was like a 3-month trial to GQ, and he just completely forgot about it. And then he had $100 charge to his bill and just was completely caught off guard. But the article was good because it was diving into just how much Americans normally spend every month on a subscription service. It's up a good amount.
Yeah, I love the term that they use here, the outsourcing of expenses. Like you're outsourcing your expenses to another service to just continually bill you on something. And they talked about consumers on average paying $273 a month in subscription services, which is up, almost $50 from 2018. And most people actually thought they're spending much less. But you almost have to kind of stop the carousel every once in a while because these things wake up. I give the example of a couple of years ago, we decided to cut the cable and try and outsource some of that and just use Netflix or something like that to save some money. And, we went without sports for a little while. And that was a little weird watching the Masters on my phone for a bit. But we went back and audited all of the different things we were paying subscriptions for and said, oh my gosh, we went from a free service to a little bit here, a little bit there. And the price increases kick in and you just never notice it. It's just routed through so many different outsourced parties that it never shows up.
Yeah, we were just having a similar conversation with me and my fiance. Obviously, we were working from home last year for a good amount of time, both of us. So we upped our internet to a gigabyte, and then she's the only one working from home now. So I was like, okay, well, we probably don't need the gigabyte internet because you're the only one working from home. And the price increases. So we kept the internet the same, but the price increases they've done just over the past year was kind of crazy.
And so sometimes it's you kind of catch yourself, and sometimes life catches you. So that the one gentleman got a $3,000 hospital bill, so suddenly his health needed to be paid for, and he said, "Oh my gosh, where is everything going?" But there are other events in our lives that can be that ice water bath that bring us back to reality. Whether it's a job change or, God forbid, a health event, even retirement. Suddenly when you think, okay, I'm no longer going to have this job that increases my pay incrementally over time. Suddenly it's living on a fixed income, whether it's from Social Security or retirement assets. It's maybe a dwindling asset as you're spending down your savings. That can be an awareness moment to say, all right, where is it all going? And going through an audit. They mentioned in the Wall Street Journal article an app that actually I've used, my wife and I use, called the Every Dollar app, which you enter in as detailed a budget as you want from month to month, and then you just enter things in as you spend them. At first, it was a little bit of a hassle, but it actually built a ton of awareness on where things were going. And again, it brought us back to, all right, what is this? What are these Apple subscriptions that are going out every month? Turns out I was spending like $20 a month for MLB TV to watch baseball. Who wants to pay to watch the Orioles? So I just said, all right, let's step back and say, all right, let's skip out on some of these subscriptions, isolate it a little bit, and make sure we know where everything is going. So an app like that can help be an awareness builder. Maybe something for people who are like, I don't know what my spending rate is heading into retirement, which is a frequent conversation. You can build that up by having some kind of technique to do it.
Yep.
And one last thing we pointed out, Cody, you found an article on levels of debt. So another part of spending is, all right, are we spending money we have, or are we spending money that we're borrowing? What were the trends on debt levels right now?
Yeah, it was interesting. There was a survey done in the summer of this year of around 2,000 adults of all different generations and income levels. And the most debt was added, unfortunately, by the younger generation, so Gen Z, 18 to 24, and millennials, aged 25 to 40. Over 50% have added credit card debt since the pandemic. But I did think one thing that was pretty interesting and was kind of surprising. The highest income earners actually held debt for longest. So over 25% of the high income earners held or carried a credit card debt for over 5 years.
So it's almost part of the management. Like it's just a state of existence. I find that interesting because we've talked about what the savings rate did last year during the pandemic. So historically, the discretionary income savings rate has been around 8%, 8 to 9% historically. That's spiked up over 20% and is still hovering around 10, so above the historical average. We had this massive uptick in savings, but you still had people adding debt. And I think it just speaks to that there was a tendency, and there has been a growing tendency, to use debt and leverage in personal finances, and that's unfortunately continued. But to whatever extent we can raise awareness that the spending levels are one of those things that we can control. And you just want to get to a place where you have awareness of what's going out, because if something were to happen, or if you're preparing to make a transition, your savings and your ability to expand and contract spending gives you all the flexibility in the world. That's what you really want.
Yep. Yeah, I think, possibly the debt levels increase because everything's automated, which they kind of talk about in the digital payments thing, which is great. But then if you have your payments automated for your credit cards, and maybe you think you're paying the entire balance, but you're only paying the minimum, different circumstances like that. Maybe that's how some of the generations are getting a little bit of trouble, but still able to save their cash levels.
Right. So one of the solutions that you found, Cody, a reverse budget. What's a reverse budget?
Yeah. So in the Lifestyle Creep article, the author was going over what a reverse budget is. And he was just saying, treat your goals like they're bills. So whether it's saving a couple $100s every month to a taxable account, so outside of the automated savings you have to your 401k or other retirement accounts, but there's something else that's kind of a reverse budget. So you treat it as if it's a bill you need to pay every month.
Pay yourself first. Right. And I think just also being aware that the forces are aligned against you. Like every company is trying to figure out how to get you to pay a subscription every month because it's recurring revenue. They got pricing power, everything else. Just be aware that it's not all benign. So very good. All right, good conversation on spending. If you have any questions or want some more context around the relationship between spending, wealth accumulation, and retirement, feel free to reach out to us at any time. And a quick reminder, next week we have our quarterly market update, which is going to be live at 8:30 in the morning on October 27th. We hope you can join us, where we're going to discuss recent trends in the markets and focus in on risk now that volatility has come back into our consciousness in this September and October. Hope to see you there.